Hello everyone, Lorenzo here, episode 42 of Tylo and Eeloo, and I've prepared some special things, all of them to be built in the orbital shipyard, and something that's creeping up on us as well is the completion of the advanced science technology node. Let's have a look at what that means for us. Which one is that? The advanced science technology, this one here. This will give us resource converters, which will allow much more awesome stuff to be done. Also more science, a holding tank, and some cool stuff. Yeah, basically resource extraction. So that will happen in just a little bit from now. Something else that's on the books is to retrieve the Surprise, the science lab, and add that to the shipyard. Or revitalize it on its own accord. That would be, I did build a tug, I'll show you. I built a tug, but I just realized if I revitalize the Surprise on its own, that will be better for the frames per second. Much better. I think I'm gonna divert and do that here. I'll show you this. I built this to go and grab the Surprise. Here, got a claw on the front and the back, and front and rear facing engines, and then just bolt it to the shipyard. But I think I'm gonna do something else instead and grab a power unit, some supplies, and just send some Kerbals over to the Surprise so it can generate science for us. So this is not going to be built. Something else that's gonna be built, is the Icarus, cheesily named. This will attempt to fly close to the sun to power this carborundum fusion drive. And we're gonna build that today from the orbital shipyard. Another thing that you may have seen is another expansion module. This is not yet completed because I want different fuel tanks on there. Let's see. I want some very large tanks instead of many smaller tanks. So I'm not sure if I will immediately build that, and also what I don't have currently is a large liquid fuel only tank, so that would give me a excess of oxidizer. On the other hand, doesn't really matter, I can just use orange tanks, but haven't decided on that yet. Anyway, that's all for the future. For now we only have 209,000 funds, which isn't enough, so we're gonna work on some contracts. Primarily the Explorer, Gilly and Bob ones. Bob is already en route, although I do want to send another probe there at some point, because this one is probably not going to be able to do all the things, especially not land on it. Oh dear, the frames per second are lower than last time I visited here. That's not good. Anyway, we are constructing things. Show the UI. Let's build the Icarus, and this is of course one that is not actually going to perform any contracts for us, it's just going to be interesting. That's the thing to do when you have no money, do interesting things. Let's load that up. We have 10,000 parts left, so I can feel free to build this. This will take 16 days, and the window to Eve is 73 days. Let's have a look at our supplies here. The substrate here is not being used, nor are the organics. Electric charge is depleting. No, it's actually regenerating, so that's fine. Let's try and make the aeroponics stuff work. I want to sort of make that work. The greenhouse, the cultivator is on. There is a Kerbal in here. Bob is in here. Stop the greenhouse. Start the greenhouse. Well, there's no mulch. There's no container for mulch, which is what is generated when Kerbals live somewhere. There's no container for mulch anywhere. And that means no recycling. So the first extra resupply module will also contain some mulch container, so that has an interim storage area. Here the substrate has been tanked into the greenhouse, and apparently one unit of organics got used somewhere. start? The habitat? Somewhere organics were used. Let's remember this number. We're at 3,910 supplies, and we'll go to the space center and time warp forward until we have that cool Icarus spaceship. That should be a fairly easy mission. Just launch it towards the sun and then go look at something else until it gets really close. Here is a seizure alert for your eyes. Now we can go back to the Future. I love saying that. A classic movie, of course. Ha ha. Come on, Kerbal alarm clock. Perform that wind down. Jump to ship. And I think you'll like the Icarus. It's a spindly marvel of high technology. And seeing the frames per second on this space station now, I am definitely going to incorporate some functionality into the Surprise. I'm not going to drag it over here. I'm going to ditch this bit, and then the Turk can hang around at the Surprise. This refueling thing will have to go away as well, as soon as the supplies are, well, offloaded. Actually, this one is going to stay. It has low parts, and it has a huge rocket can. And then, well, then the frames per second are going to drop a little bit more because we need a big refinery and fuel area, but, well, that's nothing to be done about that. Let's see. Oh, I can get a bigger processor, of course. Let's see. Finalize the build. Here we go. Full of electric charge. Well, we cannot put carborundum in there because, well, we don't have any. But we will fuel it full of liquid fuel. Release. That's about half of our supply, a little bit less. So we're gonna be looking at a resupply mission sooner rather than later. Fortunately, our contract and those money generators are already en route, so we should get some money. Release. See, here we go. Is it actually released now? I'm gonna do a little bit of thrust because, well, I didn't put any RCS on it, so we're gonna scorch the shipyard with nuclear fire. Sorry, shipyard. I hope you don't mind too much. Alright, we are away. Let's now work on deploying the marvels of this ship. Of course, we have solar panels. We're gonna go close to the sun, so these should suffice in generating all the power we need. And we will need quite a lot of power, because the fusion drive needs electric charge to initiate. And you may wonder, why haven't I built this before? I haven't, because the part is really expensive money-wise. But by building it in orbit, I can circumvent that, because there the rocket parts only count for mass. So I can build the small, the lightweight, expensive high-tech stuff fairly easily from the orbital shipyard. That's one of the advances from it. Obviously I can't fuel it up with fuel because that's on the ground. That's one of the disadvantages of an orbital shipyard. But I can get the expensive lightweight stuff out very efficiently this way, and it doesn't cost me £1,000,000. This thing would have cost like 500,000 credits. But now it doesn't. Right, let's make a maneuver node to intercept the sun. Shouldn't be too hard. We basically go on this side and boost. I could probably have done this more easily once out of the simulating range of the shipyard, which is cramping my PC's processing power quite a bit. Alright, let's start out by doing it like this. This is 1,000 meters per second. I didn't simulate it all the way. I don't know how close we're gonna have to be to the sun to actually get some collection going, but we will see. We'll see how far we can get on this nuclear engine. These large things, by the way, are heat radiators, because I figure that a fusion drive is going to emit some serious heat, and I know that a sun does. So I hope that these four are sufficient to, well, deal with that heat. Where's the shipyard now? We need to get away from it. It needs to get out. It needs to get further away than like 2-3 kilometers, and then it isn't simulated anymore. Yeah, here now my game is smooth. Oh, I missed the maneuver node. That's good. Go me. I was so focused on... Wait, did I miss it? No, I didn't miss it. It's just perfectly... This is the best moment to fire. Alright, firing the engine. As you can see, this is a nuclear engine with a complicated ship in front of it. So this burn will take a while. I will give you a few moments to enjoy the splendor of this magnificent ship. And then I'm going to cut the video and return when something interesting is going on. The drive section here has 3 liquid fuel only tanks. 2 of them will be ditched, and the last one will serve to push the ship the last bit. Oh great, we're re-entering the simulation range of the shipyard. I hope we're not going to crash into it. Where is it? Oh, we're not going to crash into it. Right, this is a good time to cut the video. I will see you when a few tanks are dry. Right, here we are about 10 minutes later, and things are not looking that great. We have almost burned through 2/3 of our fuel. Our orbit now looks like this, which is still already right close to the sun. It's like crossing into the orbit of Moho at the moment, which sure is quite close. But we need to be a lot closer. We need to be, well, at least I want to be like here, like actually grazing the sun's corona. That will require about this amount of delta V, about 3.5 kilometers per second more. I don't think we're gonna squeeze that out of this one tank. So what can we do? Can we just burn through all of it and see where we get? Yeah, we can do that, but that's not the thinking man's solution. First of all, let's fix this staging. 1, 2, 3. Let's get rid of these tanks by... the thinking man's solution is to use the Oberth effect. At least that's what we're gonna try. First of all, shut off the engine, ditch this maneuver node. What we want to do is get as close as possible to the sun. Now ideally we also want this fairly quickly. If we decrease this periapsis right into the sun, it will be about, well, it will be less than 90 days. Our current solution is going to be a multi-year solution, I'm afraid. We're going to go to periapsis first. We're gonna increase our altitude. Let's see if we can increase it by a lot. This may actually just be theoretical at this point. Let's see if we increase our altitudes up to here, which is pretty far, and then put a maneuver node here, where we decrease our orbit right up to the sun, then this maneuver node is only 300 meters per second of delta V, and this one is 2000. So that makes 2300 meters per second, rather than, say, almost 4. So that's more. The downside is, of course, that this course takes years instead of months. How much is it now? It won't tell me. That's annoying. Come on. Well, anyway, not 1000. So if we do this more, the problem is a little bit I don't quite know how much delta V I have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to burn 3/4 of the tank here at periaps, and then 1/4 of the tank at apoaps. Because for instance, this maneuver, it would push us out all the way beyond the orbit of Joule, but it would actually let us graze the sun pretty darn close. This will happen in 5 years though. So that means postponing that pretty much till the end of time. Hey, look at that, this way we actually get back to Kerbin. Still, I'm gonna attempt and do that. Why won't it tell me the amount of delta V here anymore? So that's 502,000. That's altogether, that's of course about 3,000. Now if I do it from here, actually this is a silly place to do it from. If I do it from here and reduce that orbit like all the way into the sun. Actually that doesn't make a difference. That doesn't make that much of a difference at all. Makes a few hundred meters per second difference. That is probably because we are here also quite near Kerbin, which also provides O-Birth effect. Or I'm doing my math wrong. One of these things is happening. Anyway. Anyway, I'm going to do the burn here, because then at least we know what's gonna happen, and we get there sooner, and we know sooner what's up. Alright, pointing along the what's now prograde, full burn, and I'll tell you when the tank is all empty, which will take a few minutes, so see you then. And there we are almost running out of fuel. And something that struck me while I was thinking about this, if this doesn't work and this is too high over the sun to get carborundum, that effectively makes the sun not a viable target for harvesting on conventional engines. Now say if I were to get some carborundum on Eeloo, have it there, I could send a collector ship with the fusion drive to Eeloo, then use the hyper efficient stuff to get a really close orbit around the sun and then collect much more of it. Just a thought. Anyway, here we are, the fuel has run out, we have no more use of this engine, so let's set it adrift. This is a symbolic gesture, this is a hot part, and this is now not overheating the rest of the ship. We can't do anything until we get carborundum, if we get anything. I can activate the engine here, but that of course doesn't do anything. Carborundum deprived. Let's decrease the throttle just to make sure we don't immediately fuse away once, and if we get some carborundum. We have our solar panels, they're doing well. We have our particle collector, which we can now deploy. Ooh, I would have to take care that the particle collector doesn't obscure the solar panels. That would be bad. Is that possible? Let's try that. Let's see, if I rotate it so that the particle collector is aiming at the sun, which of course would be the way to angle a particle collector aiming to collect particles from said sun. No, this doesn't count. We are getting sunlight. That's actually good. We can even say it's realistic. That makes the particle collector opaque only to carborundum particles. Yes. Now let's have a look. Are we collecting carborundum at this altitude? We are not. That means we can retract it. Let's have a look at the trajectory our nuclear engine put us in. Oh, that looks nice. Cool. We are going to approach the sun to an altitude of 1.6 million kilometers. That's really close. Will it be close enough? I don't know. We will make an alarm to find out. Add the alarm, please. And oh, I still have to punch the big button, add alarm. Perhaps. Oh, we need to exit the sphere of influence first, otherwise it won't work. Alright, let's do that. In the meantime, we are approaching our Eve window. I'm going to launch that as well, and that will conclude this episode then. I think that's fine. Let's see, how long will it take for this to reach periapsis? It won't be long, because this will be accelerating tremendously. 75 days. So we'll be launching the Eve thing, and then we shall end the episode. Come on, I'm not gonna wait 2 minutes, that's an eternity in spaceflight. Not really, of course, but I'm impatient. Alright, here we have it. 1.6 million kilometers. That's so close. Periapsis. Yes, please. Add the alarm. Cool. And that concludes the adventure of the Icarus so far. We'll see how it gets on once it gets close to the sun in 2 months. For now, let's return to the Space Center. And of course, forward time until the launch window for the appropriately named Gilly Eater. In the meantime, of course, the probe Eeloo is dutifully slowly orbiting Joule to approach Bob. And that will happen in 110 days, just a small month after the Icarus gets to be very close to the sun. Our space program is finally getting interesting. Many things are happening. In the meantime, I did forget to check on the supply situation of our guys on the space station. We'll check that at the same time that we're gonna launch the Gilly Eater, and after launching the Gilly Eater we'll also quickly inspect the Science R&D Center. We do have 407 science because occasionally I beam some science back to the home planet. We can actually, let's do that. We'll visit the Icarus and beam some thermometer readings from the sun, and we can see if the sun appears really large in the windscreen yet. It does appear larger. Yes, that it does. Alright. Let's beam some thermometer data then. Oh, we already did that with another ship, obviously. Let's try and see if we can do pressure. I suddenly got caught by the science bug. No, we already did that as well. Can we try the particle collector here? We are probably still too far out, but hey, you never know. Oh, look at that! Open carbon collector. Nothing to collect. Carbonite collector? Nothing to collect. Right, well, in that case, go ahead and retract it. Alright, so much for that excursion. And we can use this ship to do the time warping with. Time warp 18 days. Let's see, 9, 8, 4, 3, 2. Ah, wonderful. Now I do like the Kerbal alarm clock that does the deceleration for me. Alright, the Eve window has happened. We will also check the particle collector at this altitude. We're twice as close again, so it might work. I'm quite keen on this. I want this to work. Open carborundum collector. Nothing to harvest. Wait, do I need to set a target? No. Oh dear, I hope we're gonna get close enough, otherwise this will have been a big waste. Because we're not gonna send a tug to push it closer to the sun. That's just futile. Right, back to the space center. Back to the space station, and then on to the Gilly Eater. The space station, of course, to check on their supply situation. Do we need to urgently send... Because I can't send a small launcher up with just a bunch of supplies. That's not that expensive. That will cost like 30,000-40,000. But a big one with lots of fuel, lots of parts, lots of everything, that's expensive. Hey, is this not building anything now? Of course it's not building anything. I didn't make a plan. Supplies. Could be worse. Organics, they have been used up. Yes, something is working. Very, very slowly though. 3 organics have been used. Some recyclables have been produced. Machinery has not been used up. Substrate has been used up. 10 units of them. I think for some reason all my supply buildings are incredibly inefficient. I might need like some more productivity, like a workshop or something. Oh well, we'll do that in the next expansion module. We'll add a fuel refinery, a workshop, and all those good things. And of course some fuel depots. Okay, now for the last highlight of this episode. I feel it's gonna be it's growing to be a long one, but well, we'll deal with that. The Gilly Eater, the one that will actually do some science and moneying for us. Hopefully then. Cool, this small plucky craft, the first one to be built in orbit. I keep liking it just for that. Alright, let's target Eve. It has been explored already, as you can see. There is a craft of ours there. Wait, there is a craft of ours there. I think that's landed. Because otherwise that's a little bit embarrassing, because then we could have used that to do the science. It's apparently hard to get the maneuver right. Because I'm not seeing any encounter bips. Oh well. Let's see, we're gonna go here, and then at the descending node, which is gonna happen first? This is gonna happen first, and at the descending node we're gonna fix that orbit. And somehow our encounter is then completely horrible. This is the closest approach, so we're gonna need to be there faster. So this node needs to be faster. And then this one here. Oh, look at that! This is an encounter on the next orbit though. But do I like that? I don't really like that. I want an encounter on the first orbit, if at all possible. But then I have to go really quickly and spend all the delta V in the world. Actually no, this is a low amount of delta V. Damn it! Why is this hard? Alright, I will figure this out and show you what I came up with. Alright, here's the result. I came up with the fact that this is not in fact a very nice launch window. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the probe in a mostly concurrent orbit with Kerbin around the sun, like so. And then from here I'm going to try and plot a nice Eve intercept. I'm not sure if that's a good idea or not, but I'll be missing out on the Oberth effect, but that's the only thing really. And that way I have a little bit more leeway in playing with the maneuver nodes, because I'm not tied to the stupid planet. So let's see, this is 1000 meters per second to get away from Kerbin. Well, we'll fire that off right now. Boom. And I will, well, this is fairly easy to predict. This will happen. I will leave the sphere of influence of Kerbin, and then I will make a maneuver node, and then I will show you. See you then. It'll be a few days. Alright, this is what I came up with, and it won't be fast. It's 2 burns from here. We'll fix the inclination here. That's 390 meters per second, and then we'll make the encounter here, which will happen on the next orbit. That's 166 meters per second. So this is probably the most energy efficient way of doing things, but it will take a year. That's a little bit annoying. But on the flip side, we will have lots and lots of fuel to circularize around Gilly and land on it. It does seem as though there is some time warping in our near future, because our funds are running out, and we have some things on the books that, well, will only happen in years and years. Maneuver 1. That will shift the focus of the purpose of the orbital station to revitalize its food producing capabilities, because we can't really send, well, we can send supplies up there all the time. We just will. We will have to. I think I'm gonna do 2 things. Now that this thing has been sent off, and we can probably remove the fuel from the appendage that it has now. We can then add a fuel refinery and a workshop for productivity, or a habitat. No, well, I'll add a habitat and a fuel refinery, just those. Or just the habitat. Anyway, I will do something with the station while these things happen. Oh hey, and we got science. We can do the no, screw all of that. We're gonna do the Minmus ore harvesting mission, because that way we get lots of funds. We get like 600,000 if we do that. So that's a no-brainer. We're gonna do that. Yes, yes, yes. And we have 407 science. Let's see what we can get with that. We can get smaller radial engines. That's actually nice. We cannot get this, but we can wait for this. This is nice in making a... oh, this is really cheap. It's 25 grand. This will help in making a mammoth resupply lifter. Very nice. But we don't have the science for that now. Fabrication module. This will allow us to make rocket parts in orbit, which is nice. Clampetron, structural panels. We don't quite need this yet. Advanced metalworks. I'm leaning towards the advanced metalworks. Planes. Does this have like the liquid fuel only fuselages? Yes, I want this. Because then I can have a a liquid fuel only tank on the space station. Do I want this more than making rocket parts in orbit? That's a hard question. Advanced motors, that's nice. Experimental science, really nice, but we don't have the... What, just this? Screw that. Ion propulsion is also incredibly nice for making probes. And we have a lot of contracts that are like, put a satellite in a way distant orbit. Ion satellites will be really nice for that. But then we need to go all the way back here and get these things. I think we're gonna do that. I mean, all those manufacturing things are nice and all, but ion propulsion will bring in the money. So we need this, then this. These are two. Well, this is actually nice because I've been struggling with unmanned cores, and then this. Yeah, a little bit boring, but let's do it. It will take many days anyway. Alright, that's this episode. A long one. We didn't really achieve anything, but many more things have been moved along. Thanks for watching. Next time, more of the same. Building a space infrastructure. See you later. I'm Lorenzo. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.